What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla SPY, ES, NQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening with the news involving Tesla in the markets, what's going on so far with the charts as we're seeing new developments, what you should be watching for as time progresses. But just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. Anyways, for Tesla, we're looking pretty nice so far. Tesla had to slow all the way down here around this 180 area. And since then, Tesla's been attempting to uptrend as we're making higher lows. But the question is, can Tesla break this 20 EMA and can we start pushing through resistance to really start pushing? In my personal opinion, I think there's a good chance of that happening looking at the 4 hour and also the daily time frames. And Tesla may attempt to push, in my opinion. But the question is, okay, what pieces of data will dictate this? Will we get a big rejection later on? I'm going to give you guys a couple of answers about that. In my personal opinion, I made a video yesterday where I talked about how the market may push higher, but there could be a lower high established compared to some of these lows. Then the market may see another dip to the downside to start grabbing some more liquidity. I did mention that, and that's more for like the medium term, right? The market trying to push just for a bit and possibly getting a rejection. That's a more medium term projection when you look at SPY and the others. However, for the short term, as of right now, we are pushing, so we may push a little bit higher, in my personal opinion, approaching tomorrow. I think that's going to most likely be the case for the broader markets. So more upside is likely coming. Could we reject and make a lower high compared to the highs we had? Sure, it's always a strong possibility, but we're not ready to reject yet. That's a more medium term projection. And for the short term, we're looking more bullish. So my previous video is more of a more like medium term projection for the markets. My video right now is just a very, very short term where I'm going to be talking about tomorrow specifically. I want to make that distinction very, very clear. So why do I think the market may push a little higher? Let's talk about exactly why that is and then talk about some data. Please note that I'm saying just temporarily the market looks bullish because on Tuesday we have PPI data coming out. That's the producer price index. And on Wednesday we have CPI coming out. This could cause the market to get a big rejection or make another big move. But for now, tomorrow is going to be Monday, August 12th, 2024 at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have the 3 and 6 month bill auctions coming out. Approaching this data, I think the market's looking bullish. And I think approaching PPI, the market's going to try to push. So for now, there's not a whole lot of data coming out for Monday, and the market may go a little higher. Then we'll see what kind of reaction we get from there. Just note when it comes to earnings, okay, for Monday, we have Monday.com, not to mention TerraWolf. Then for Tuesday and beyond, we have a lot more retail. We have the Home Depot announcing earnings on Tuesday before the market opens. Then we have a few more. We have Dole, not to mention Cisco on Wednesday. And then for Thursday, we have Alibaba, Walmart, and John Deere. So some big ones come out on Thursday, like Alibaba, and we'll see what happens with Walmart. So get ready for that. That's what's coming out for earnings for the week. For more data, right now the market's a little indecisive about what the Fed is going to do. There's a 50-50 chance we get a 25 or 50 basis point hike, not hike, cut, according to the markets. This is very important because this will be shifted by CPI. So I'm expecting a very, very big move in the markets because of that. So we'll see how it goes. I've been talking a lot about what's happening in the Middle East. I just want to make it very clear that at the time I'm recording this video, there's been no major attacks or anything like that. So far, the market's allowed to continue to push. We don't really have the negative catalyst to really dump things so far. And this gives the market more leniency to just continue to push for the time being. For other factors, I just want to mention that the fear and greed index is very important. Right now, this is extremely fearful. And when extreme fear hits, that's when we're starting to see the market push. That's why the market's been uptrending a bit for the last couple of days, ever since we saw that big dump after the data that came out from the Japanese banks, and not to mention the US markets. In my opinion, we're at extreme fear, so I think this might shift a little bit and the market may continue to push just temporarily, and we'll see if the move lasts. There's still that risk of us getting a rejection later on. Momentum is currently fearful. We'll see if this becomes more neutral. I think this is going to continue to go higher once again as the market's trying to push and we're trying to reclaim our 125 daily moving averages. The puts and call option positioning was at extreme fear. People were super fearful. This is why the market started pushing. Once fear kicks in, that's when the market starts going higher. And I think that this move to the upside may temporarily last for now. Now, the VIX is looking bearish. I think it's going to dip to fill its gap below, but there's going to be another spike coming later because the market may get a rejection later on. So I want to make that very clear. I'll talk more about that in just a second. Don't forget that as far as the option chain goes for SPY, I'm looking at 535 as an area of interest for tomorrow. As far as Tesla goes now, just a couple of things on the news. I just want to mention that Tesla's launching a new bundle with 3 years of FSD supercharging and premium connectivity. I think this will be very useful to try to bring more sales. People are interested in buying these packages, and this will help bring in a lot more revenue for Tesla. One thing that's worth noting is that Tesla increased the price of FSD to about $15,000. It basically did that not too long ago. Now it's down to about $8,000 for doing another price cut. So as a result of this, they have a new bundle that's coming out. There's a 3-year bundle of FSD, free supercharging, and premium connectivity for about $5,000. Pretty useful for now. It's only available for the S and the X. And I think that this could, once again, mean that this is going to be very, very useful. So I think that this will be very, very good for saving people money. I think that it's a very, very good product for Tesla. And I think that will be very, very good for them, at least for the long term. As far as Tesla goes, volume is very short, only about 58 million. So what generally happens is we get low volume because a big spike is coming in volatility, and that could lead to a bigger move. Short volume is kind of flat right now, not really doing much. RBC Capital is saying that Tesla will outperform the markets. The price price ratio is on a bit of a downtrend so far. I want to call that out as well because once again, Tesla's been losing a little bit of strength for the last couple of days. And then historically, Mondays are technically green like 53% of the time. So that's a good probability for Tesla. So the question is, what's going to happen from here? What is my prediction for Tesla and the markets? I'm now just going to focus on that. And once again, guys, I'm focusing on the short term. Okay, just the very, very short term. I'm not talking about the medium term. So for the short term, Tesla had to slow down here at 180, came back up, made a higher low, and this is trying to push. If we break past this 200.96 area, I think Tesla's easily going up for 205 and possibly the gap fill above. If we end up losing 198, look at 195. If that breaks, we're going to be looking for a very big drop all the way down to 191. So far, Tesla in the 4-hour is trying to favor a push. The daily on Tesla is also trying to push higher. It's getting, I would say it's trying to respect an uptrend, but look at this resistance right here around this 202 area as well. I think that there's a good chance Tesla will try to fill this upper gap up here, especially if we try to break above and hold above 200. There's a good chance Tesla will try to rebound just temporarily. The daily is looking a little bit better for Tesla, actually looking at technicals and such. So I think it's a good sign for Tesla. And I think that the odds are favoring that upside direction. So just know the bearish case, if we do end up losing 198 and 195, we will turn back down. And the bullish case is if we manage to hold above 200, we're going to start pushing. The charts for the broader markets, I'm going to show you guys more charts that help favor this view, are suggesting more upside is likely coming and that there's going to be a little bit of a push for Tesla just temporarily. So I predict there's going to be a little upside so long as there's no negative catalyst for at least that 205 area tomorrow, if not a little bit higher. We may even attempt to fill this gap. Why do I say that? There's other reasons why. SPY is looking a little bit more bullish on the daily time frame as we're trying to turn on the PPO. We're approaching our resistance, which happens to be around that 538 area. Here's how I see it, though. Don't worry about 538 yet. Worry about the 50 EMA on the 4-hour at 535. If we break 535, we're going up to 538, then 540 to fill that gap. And if we end up rejecting, make sure you look at 529 as key support. If that breaks, we'll be dipping all the way down towards 525 or lower. But as of right now, we're trying to uptrend. I think there's a good chance we continue higher. I think that 535 is most likely going to be touched and potentially broken for 538. Now, once again, this is my temporary prediction. We're going to temporarily push, but we could get a big rejection later. So do not forget about that. I just want to keep that in the back of your guys' minds. For ES is also trying to respect an uptrend. We came all the way down here. We're making higher highs and higher lows, and we're starting to consolidate at our 50 EMA. Watch 5360 as our very, very key level. If we manage to break this, I'll be looking for 5400 plus. If we lose this, I'll be looking for a dip for 5326. Breaking that turns us all the way down to this imbalance towards 5300. But looking at this, as we're making higher highs and higher lows and trying to hold above our 50 EMA, even as I speak right now, this is favoring upside and trying to get close to about 5,400. For ES and SPX, we're looking a little like we want to push a little higher as we're making higher highs and higher lows. We got to hold above 5350 on SPX. If we hold that, I think we could be testing this gap resistance at 5380, then fill the gap all the way up towards that 5400 area. But if we dip, 5300 is key support. We got to hold that. Otherwise, there's going to be a big drop coming. I think we might temporarily try to push, and we'll see if we get a rejection. That is the most likely possibility. Look at Nvda for another example. Check out how Nvda is holding up quite well. We had this low all the way down here around 90, came up, made a higher low down to about 97, came up, trying to make a higher low. So watch 104 as an area of interest. If we hold above this, I think Nvidia is going up to about 108. If we lose this, I'll be looking for a dip all the way down towards basically 100. But I think that Nvidia is going to likely try to hold above 104, try to push up for 108. We favor the upside and making higher highs and higher lows. So look at 108 as a potential area of interest. I think we could be testing that as well. If we hold above 104, 108 is likely coming. I favor that a little bit more for tomorrow. Now, Bitcoin's looking a little more bearish, may dip a little bit more, but watch this imbalance. The 58,000 area is where we have previous resistance right here, and also this imbalance. So I wouldn't be surprised if we dip a little bit lower towards 58,000, then we try to bounce. We could dip a little bit more and try to bounce. I'll be watching that on Bitcoin as a potential big move. For looking at others like NQ, this looks a little bit more bullish, making higher highs, higher lows, higher highs. We got a hold above 18,589. If we hold above that, I think we're easily going to be pushing up towards 18,750. And if we end up losing 18,424, we'll be tipping all the way down to this imbalance towards 18,200. Look at the fact that we're making higher highs and higher lows. There's a good chance we may continue to push. I think that 18,800 is likely coming. So I think there's a very, very good chance that NQ tries to push for that area. So we look a little bit more bullish, at least for NQ. So we watch and see if that ends up being the case. For the QQQ, I'm seeing the same thing. Now, if we lose 446.5, look at 444 as key support. We could dip if we end up losing that. And looking at the trend as we're making higher highs and higher lows, I'm favoring a move all the way up towards 454. This is going to be previous resistance. This is also our gap resistance at the 454 area. If that breaks, we're going up to about 447.5, very close to this gap fill. So I think we're going to most likely get to the mid 450s for the QQQ, push a little bit higher, and then we'll see if we get a rejection based off CPI or not. We'll have to wait on that. But for now, I favor upside. Why else do I favor upside for Tesla in the markets? Well, another thing is the way the market's moving in unison. The market loves to follow very similar algorithms. And notice how Apple had a bullish wedge that developed right here. It still looks like it's trying to hold this very, very well. So I think that if we were to hypothetically lose 215, okay, I'd be looking for a move back down to 213. We turn a little bit more bearish if there's bad news. If we hold above 215, this thing is easily going to try to fill this gap up towards 219. And what's more likely is we're going to try to push to fill that gap. I think we're most likely going to do this for Apple. So I favor that push for 219. Why? Because once again, we have a bullish wedge breakout. We're holding above key supports, and we have a nice potential upwards direction, especially on the 4-hour time frame. For Palantir, we look pretty good right now. We're trying to make higher highs and higher lows, so I really like this trend thus far. But watch this 30 area. We'll have to see if we could hold this. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a little bit of a dip first before it tries to continue higher. Might retest 29.5 and then continue, but it looks pretty good. Notice on super micro how we have a tendency of basically kind of like rejecting off this 20 EMA, at least testing it. So like right here, since mid-July, we rejected off of it. We touched the green line, rejected. We touched it, rejected, touched it, rejected. So I think we're going to be making an attempt to get back up there because we dropped really hard after earnings and it is due for a little bit of a bounce. It also aligns with previous resistance previous support becoming resistance. So I think we're going to likely try to push for 520. If that breaks, I'd be looking for 540. Not saying it's going to break that, but we could see a temporary move up before we see anything else. For Rivian is kind of trading sideways in a range. Look at resistance around 15.25 and support all the way down here towards 13.5. We've been going back and forth and back and forth. Now, looking at the 4-hour and Rivian, we're looking a little bit weaker right over here. But I think what's going to happen is we're just going to continue to consolidate. If we lose this low here, if we lose 13.8, I think there's going to be a big dip coming. But if we hold this support, we could just consolidate. I'm favoring like the consolidation phase of this. And then we'll see what the direction happens to be, but that's looking more probable to me. SoFi, it's the same thing. I'm just seeing consolidation on this, just trading sideways. Resistance around this 6.7 area and support around 6.25. We might just continue to go back and forth before we see another big move. For the IWM, I think that this is favoring a potential wedge that could be forming. So it might get a little dip tomorrow, then a bounce, and we'll see if this tries to break through resistance at 208. If that breaks, I'll be looking for basically 210 plus. If we lose this support around this 203, 205 area, look for 203. We'll be watching to see if that ends up being the case. I think with this potential higher low that's being made right over here, there's a good chance that this may dip a bit and try to bounce, consolidate, and maybe try to push higher. So the chart's looking a little bit more bullish to me. Look for some consolidation, maybe a break towards 210. That's the most likely possibility. For AMD, it's also just consolidating, going back and forth between supply and demand. it may attempt to push up for 136 and just trade sideways. That's what I'm seeing is the most likely possibility. And eventually try to get back up to 139. So I see some consolidation, maybe some upside is the most likely probability. For ARM, we're looking pretty decent. Look at support at 116. If we lose that, it could be a dip all the way down towards 111. If we hold this, we could be looking for basically 120. So we'll have to see if that ends up being the case. There's a good chance of that potentially happening. For Coinbase, we have a bullish potential wedge that could be forming, so making higher highs and higher lows. If we end up losing 190, I'd be looking for this gap fill towards 178. If we break past 200, I'd be looking for basically 208. With this wedge that's forming a potential upside, I think we could be pushing to fill this gap. So I think that 200 may break, and then 208 would be our next potential target. For Amazon, we're attempting to break to the upside right over here. At this 167 area, we could push, try to fill this gap. I think that 171 is going to likely be coming. I think that 167 could try to hold, and 171 would be our next level. If we lose that, I'd be looking for a dip all the way down towards 163. But this is favoring upside for 171, so watch for that very carefully. For Meta, we're looking a little bit more bullish in my personal opinion. Why? We have this triple bottom formation, and I think that we're looking pretty nice. This looks like a nice accumulation, and I think that this is trying to get back up to this wick area, which is going to take us to about 525. So we favor the upside. If we were to hypothetically lose 515, we could be dipping back down to 499 to 500, but I don't favor that. I think we're more likely to start pushing all the way up towards resistance. I think that 525 is looking more favorable. For Microsoft's on a bit of a downtrend, but it's trying to break. See how we broke the structure right here? So we kept rejecting off this 20 EMA, the green line, and now we're finally starting to break it. So this is a sign that this is attempting to break out. So for this to break out, we have to continue what we started. If we end up losing 404, look for 402. And if we hold this, I'd be looking for basically all the way up to about 408 to 410. So I favor, as long as we're above 404, this is favoring upside for at least 410 for potential breakout just temporarily. Google, if we break past 166, I'd be looking for the gap fill for 168. Once again, this is just a temporary move, not saying it's going to last forever. And then for a few more, GameStop is also trying to push. I'd be looking for 22.25 tomorrow. If that breaks, we go higher. Same thing with AMC, hold $5, and I think this is going to try pushing. But if we lose 4.93, we're going to be dipping all the way down to about 4.8. So we're just stuck within these ranges. DJT is on a bit of a downtrend, rejecting off our 20 EMA, but I think we're going to be testing it. We're going to try to break this. If we do break this, because it's been dropping so hard, and now it's trying to base. If we manage to break 26.64, look for a bounce tomorrow towards almost 28. So we'll see if it holds and breaks resistance or not. So just wait and see. For the VIX, we got this nice spike. We came back down. So I think what's going to happen is the VIX is going to drop more. It looks more bearish right over here. It's going to likely dip down to fill this gap because the market's going to push higher. The market's going to go a little higher, dropping the VIX, in my opinion, temporarily. But the VIX could still see another bounce. It still has this gap to fill up here. So I think it's going to get another spike because the market might get another rug pull. So far, what I think might happen is something like this, where the VIX kind of dips like this towards our 200 EMA, then maybe gets another spike before it continues back down. Something like this is very possible. This first move down, however, may last a day, maybe a couple of days. We'll have to see on that. And then the market may basically pump a little bit, causing the VIX to dip like this. Then the market may get a temporary rug pull. Maybe the VIX gets another spike later. This could even take like another week. It really depends, guys, on CPI and other factors before the VIX starts to dip again. So I think the market's going to go a little higher based off this because the VIX is going to dip temporarily. Then the opposite is going to happen. The market gets a little rug pull. That's always a strong possibility. That's what this is kind of suggesting for anything else. And then the market may try to get bought back up again. The 10-year is going to depend on what happens with CPI and other factors, and the dollar as well. The dollar looks to me like it's just consolidating because the market may push a little higher, but then we'll see if the dollar gets a breakout, which causes the market to dip. We'll just have to wait and see. So for now, just for now, at the time of recording this, the market may temporarily get a little push, try to push a little bit higher. Okay, we may temporarily push higher. Could we see a big rejection later? Yes, it's possible, but we're not ready yet. Look for a little more upside tomorrow, and we'll see what other catalysts affect us. So for Tesla, as long as we're above 200, I think this favors upside. We could be pushing for 205 again, if not higher. We have a nice inverse head and shoulder setup, so temporarily, Tesla looks bullish. Could Tesla reject in a couple of days? It's possible, but that depends on CPI and such. So we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully this video is as clear as possible. I'm trying to be very, very blunt. Please have a great day, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I'll see you guys very soon as something very, very important. So thank you for listening. I'll see you guys soon. I'll talk about what happens with the markets tomorrow before the market opens, and we'll see how things go. Have a great day, guys, and peace out.